All right, welcome back everyone to Ladder League Recap. This is the Week 5 recap and Week 6 predictions. And as you know, we have a special guest every week. This week I have the one and only Garrison Larrison,
Thank you, thank you. I'm glad I'm here. Thanks for having me.
bringing the Xbox opinions into the PC gaming world. but
Oh yeah.
anyways, yeah, so we had a really exciting Week 5 of Ladder League where, I mean, honestly, some more drama builds up as now the ladders condense the two rungs. And I guess we'll just dive right into here and talk about the bottom rung here because we see Phantom surviving and Coulson and Charizard getting knocked out of the tournament here. And I had the pleasure to actually commentate this one, and wasn't really a race. Charizard kind of had a pod fraud disaster right away, so he fell behind like multiple minutes, and then Coulson kept up until episode 3 where he had a library skip disaster, and then it started going downhill in episode 5, and he had like a 10-minute Bespin or something to end off his tournament. But yeah, Phantom kind of had control of this match pretty much the entire time. Big props to, I mean, he was the favorite, and he stays alive in the tournament here. I guess to quickly touch on Coulson and Charizard, obviously Coulson, I think he had the 11 seed. I would have to go refer to everyone's seeds. That's actually kind of hard to do. But I'll have to go refer to it. But Coulson, the 11 seed, I think he gets out a position or two below his actual seeding. But in general, a pretty good tournament from him. We saw him PB early in the tournament, which is really nice. But the past couple of weeks have been rough for him. And it's not a super unexpected exit, especially with going against Phantom. And then the same thing for Charizard. He hasn't really had like a standout tournament match. I think the 230-31 that you can see on the left of the screen is the best he's done all tournament. So not a super standout week for him, and we didn't really see it this tournament, but hopefully we'll see that on the leaderboards after this tournament. Any thoughts on this match, Garrison, in terms of how they did and overall in the tournament?
Yeah, so I guess my first thought when I look at this, I think this was is this the most staggered match of Ladder League so far?
I
Because like
mean,
I see the one in the week before we have like T-Fresh with a 229, Revy with a 228, Twilight with a 229, but it was competitive between T-Fresh and Twilight. This seems like the one where it was the biggest gap between
yeah,
all
there's
three
been
of the
some
runners.
weird exceptions where people have like crashed out. But yeah, this one, like, I would agree. This one was just, I commentate this one. It was never really close. There was one point where Coulson was bringing it back during episode 6, but that was it. Like, this was, I hate to say it, but a boring match to commentate, but we knew what
Yeah,
was going to
like
happen.
races like those where you kind of know who's going to win going in. And it honestly kind of surprises me that it was this race that had this because
Yeah.
all three of these runners have pretty similar PBs and they've been playing at like similar times
Hmm.
throughout the league. So it was kind of shocking to see a bit of this change up right here.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if it was a second, like, if it was any other rung and second place mattered, it would be kind of interesting because Coulson and Charizard were close. Like, in Bespin, they were really close, but Coulson had, like, a breakdown. So it was, it would have been cool to see a second place race, but obviously, winner stays alive, and, Phantom lives to see another day. Obviously, we'll
The
talk about the.
Phantom's actually been popping off a lot these past few weeks. He beat Laser a couple weeks ago. That was actually crazy. Like that's something we did not expect at
Mhm.
all. That was that the biggest upset of the tournament so far?
Oh, I think so. Well, I mean, obviously, Krasby beating Justin was big, but I think in terms of like sheer odds, that was the biggest upset. That Phantom beating Laser, which I think it's funny. Phantom's brother is leading the predictions because he picked Phantom in that race. So
Oh,
the
nice.
bias pays off.
I guess you need brother support sometimes in all of your runs.
um, but yeah, I mean, Phantom, like you were saying, he's been doing well this tournament. I think Burko said it last week. He's been consistent, one of the most consistent runners this tournament. 229 obviously is not the best time, but he's been putting up all sub 230s, which a lot of other runners cannot say that the same thing in this tournament. So Phantom has been impressive in terms of consistency, and the fact that he's going to be able to have a shot to stay alive next week is another big opportunity. And it's against two people he's already beat before in this tournament, mind you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That means I mean, I know we'll touch on the prediction stuff later, but
Mm-hmm.
I think he's putting himself in a pretty good place for next week too. It'll be definitely be a bit more difficult than this week's race was, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not like completely over for him, I don't think. I think there's
Yeah,
still ways that he can come back.
yeah, for sure. I guess with that we'll move on to rung two here, which was I said last week the match of the week. Oh, I forgot to say. I always do this every. There's the bozo race of the week. I forgot to say rung three was definitely the bozo race of the week. Lots of mistakes. uh, you know, Coulson kind of helping out with that, but bozo race of the week on that one. Sorry, I just had to trademark that.
No,
um,
no, yeah, I love hearing about those bozo races.
because honestly, the reason I give that one, but it wasn't like horrible. The other two were total. The other two matches were pretty clean. This one was, I said, the race of the week, the Anorak Dime T first match, and this one was really interesting because this is actually is it? It's not as big as the Phantom upset, but it's very close. T Fresh, who was the third most likely to, he was definitely not. He was not the favorite at all, not even second favorite. Goes out and wins the match straight up, which I don't think a lot of people that had that on their predictions. Um, and I
Yeah, I think T-Fresh is a bit of an interesting case though when it comes to this because his PB is lower than the rest of these guys, but he's been playing this game so much longer than any of these other fellas have. Because he was one of the originals around here. Like I know you've been here a while. I
mhm.
don't know when he started in the exact timeline, but definitely way before Anorak and Daime did.
only like a month or two after I started. So he's pretty up there in terms of he's been doing this for a while. And I think everyone kind of had that in the back of their mind. They're like, he hasn't played for a while, and when he comes back, he is gonna have the potential with all the new skips and the fact that he's just a seasoned Lego runner that he can improve his time really quickly, which we saw here with like a 2 minute PB. And mind you, this technically doesn't count as a board PB because there was a disaster of his PC actually like crashed during this,
Isn't
but
this like his third PC crash of the
so
tournament?
this is second. I think
Okay.
two. I think he had an OBS crash or something before, and then he had controller issues in the race where he got a 241. But yeah, I think this time he was like genuinely on like PB like 223 pace, I think, or 223 or
Oh
224
wow.
pace. I since I literally lived with him, his reasoning for the 225 is he kind of got like demotivated by the PC crash and whatnot. And obviously, we didn't relay exactly what was going to happen. So maybe in the back of his mind, he thought he was going to lose for a little bit before he realized, like, hey, we're not going to punish you for Windows 11 being stupid, sort of idea. But
Yeah, well,
actually,
I'm glad that he was able to finish out though, and it definitely shows like how he can PB in the near future too, assuming his
oh
PC
yeah,
doesn't act up again.
for sure. And I think this at his 225-27 actually will jump Anorak's wildcard time, which is very big. Someone from the outside of the initial top eight seeding is now in the theoretical top eight seeding, which is huge. And obviously, he has the implication of now he gets the top rung for next week with a chance to qualify, not even as the eight seed. So very, very, very big race for T Fresh. Exactly what he needed. As for Anorak, like this was kind of an unimpressive performance. I mean, this is kind of where he's been averaging in the tournament. He did get a PB, like a 222-26 or something, during the week, but another kind of poor race performance from him. It's a little
Hmm.
concerning again. Like once again, like Anorak has been the guy I think everyone's agreed on in the top eight, in the initial seeding of top eight that could drop out of the top eight, like the favorite that might not make it. And he is in the top rung this week, but now he's lost like the wild card control. So he's going to end up having to win a rung one match or regain wild card control to actually make the top eight now, which will be
I think
interesting.
he could regain the wild guard control pretty easily. I think
Mm-hmm.
next week it's going to be a little, and we'll touch on this more later. I think it's going to be a bit more difficult for him to gain the wrong one
Mm-hmm.
spot or win the wrong one spot next week, but I definitely think the wild card could still be in control
Yeah,
coming from him because his PB is I believe he has a 222, 223.
yeah, mid 222 now.
Okay, yeah. So he definitely has some time, especially if his wild card time that he had was a 226. He could definitely
Mm-hmm.
improve on that really easily.
And I guess I just want to point this out because we haven't touched on Daime yet. Is that this is like the third week in a row he's missed pod fraud, and it's not just it's not he's doing god fraud or anything. It's just normal pod fraud. He's messed it up 3 weeks in a row now and had to restart the level 3 times. So definitely like he's this is kind of like a joke. It's the laser of last ladder league in this ladder league now because laser had pod fraud disasters all of last ladder league and now Dimate's 3 weeks in a row and now he's kind of on the chopping block against two very tough opponents where he's like obviously another pod race disaster just means you're out at this point for Dime.
I think the problem with pod race is that like it's very so you have plenty of like skips in the run where if you miss it it's a major disaster, but the problem with pod race that it's very early on, so you kind of have this
Mm-hmm.
mentality of like, oh, if I miss this I'm screwed the rest of the run, and then the rest of it just feels meaningless at that point.
Yeah.
So it kind of is, it's probably the most demoralizing skip to miss, I'd say, out of all these, which is weird because we saw Ladder League last year. I swear we had someone miss pod fraud every single race, but like you don't see people missing regular pod fraud too
Mm-hmm.
often in their normal PB attempts outside of races. So I think it's 100% a nerves thing that comes with the
Yeah,
tournament.
exactly. And I mean, I feel like for Daime, like he's missed it 3 times in a row now. Like, even if he's practicing it, I'm sure there's still going to be a lot of nerves going into it. And this is the first time he's in the bottom rung, so this is like sort of a do or die situation for him. And obviously you want to make the race about everything else and all the other levels, but first things first is get past that hump of pod race. Which I mean, I hate to be talking about it, especially for someone who doesn't go for God Fraud. It just sucks to be in that sort of position. Um, but of course, like actually, we'll get to it in the predictions. But yeah, like people like Laser might be going for God Fraud, which would be a different story in that match. Um,
Yeah.
I guess we'll move on to rung one here as we kind of touched on rung two. Um, this race between Justin Dragon and Laser, I watched pretty much the whole thing for this one, and it kind of went as I expected. Like Justin pre-recorded this one just as some inside info. He did it right after the race that we did week 4 between myself, Anorak, and Justin, and he was playing really well in that race. Like he missed God Fraud, lost 4 minutes, but then played insane after that. So I was
I actually
fully
was there for that race. That
yeah.
race I was able to watch live, so that was insane seeing him come back like that.
Yeah, so like, I'm just like, I mean, I knew in the back of my mind that he was going to put up a good performance, but a 2:20:58, like that's really really solid. I almost like it's such a
Yeah.
good time. I hate to say I expected it. And then
Yeah, I
Drag.
mean, he's gonna be your competition in a couple weeks, so
I know
you
that's
gotta.
officially the match now.
Yeah.
Which we'll
I mean,
definitely
I guess
touch
that
on.
the times kind of panned out the way that I thought they would here.
Mhm.
I thought that this would kind of be a wee super blowout here. I thought he would take over the race pretty well, and he did. It's what, like 3 minutes ahead of Dragon in second, so that I'd say this was about expected. It was a good match though. I mean, these aren't bad times. A 2:24 and a
Mhm.
2:25 are still phenomenal, but like when you're competing against someone, the person who's had the most world records over the course of TCS, it's
Yeah,
kind of tough.
of TCS basically. Any thoughts because on this Dragon versus Laser kind of rivalry? Because this is the third time they matched up, and this is the third time that Dragon is squeaked out. I mean, I guess it's a minute, but like still like has won pretty like not by a big margin over Laser. I guess. Any thoughts on this
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
like rivalry that's kind of happening?
yeah, every tournament's got to have some rivalry. There were a lot of those going on last year, and I think this is a good example of it
Mhm.
this year. I think Laser's definitely going to need to get his revenge at some point soon, and they're not competing against each other next week, but hopefully, I mean, I think Laser's kind of hoping Dragon loses just to kick him out that last week of competitions in week 7. Um, but I think that it's definitely building up on him right now, being like, oh, if this guy's gonna keep beating me over and over again, there's got to be a time sometime soon where I can kick his ass eventually, and then take him back. But I think he's putting up a good fight right now.
I mean, it's unlikely for this to happen, but if Dragon gets the 6th seed and then Laser gets the 7th seed, they could meet in round 2 of the final bracket. Mind you, that would mean like Laser beats Jared and Dragon beats Erasmi, which would be very
Yeah,
tough, but very
that's what I
possible.
was thinking. I was wondering if they go top 8, but then I would remember that they would have to fight the 2 and 3 seeds, which would be
Yeah,
very difficult.
I, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like one of them won that as an upset, but both of them winning as an upset would be kind of like a crazy twist to the final bracket. Which I mean, we'll get more
Right.
into that final bracket in a minute. But yeah, I guess that kind of recaps what happened in last week. I mean, there's only 3 matches to recap, so it's like gonna be quick now. And I would say pretty much the T Fresh obviously the biggest surprise of the week, but everything after that pretty much went according to how people expected.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll jump in because predictions this week are going to be a little different because obviously we'll predict these 2 matches, but then that's going to change who is in the next week's match. Or sorry, this week, next week. It's technically week 7, but we're combining the weeks because we're not going to do a full week just for one match. Um, so yeah, I guess we'll first talk about this Laser Daime Phantom matchup, which I just want to open up by saying Laser, in the 2 years of playing ladder, you might not even know the stat, has never won a ladder league match. Never.
Oh, really?
That's such a weird stat because he has been in ladder league for such a long time. Like he has done so many ladder league matches, he's never won. His record's like some
Actually, did not know
insane
that.
0 wins, like 8 second places, and like 4 losses or something. I might be off on that, but it's something like that. It's crazy. He's just been second place merchant the entire time. But this is like the first time where like it's do or die. Like if he gets second place, he's out here, or well, he's gonna have to at best rely on his wild card time, which he's technically in position to get right now. So But yeah, big race. Daime, once again, we kind of touched on Daime. It's going to be obviously getting over the pod race hump and then also playing really well because he kind of like he has a good PB, but he hasn't been racing well in this ladder league. So it's gonna be this is gonna I feel like gonna be a really tough test for Daime. But if somehow he pulls this one off, he could definitely be a threat to make top eight really quickly. And then Phantom, who just he's been consistent, but he's gonna need a better performance than a 229 this week.
Hmm.
I'll quickly go through my order and then ask you here. I'm trying to think. I think I'm gonna have to go with Laser winning his first ladder league match. I mean, he's the favorite here. I know this is kind of a chalky pick, but I mean, I think it has to be Laser. I mean, if Daime, it would be incredible to see a Daime win to stay alive here, but that's gonna I think be a hurdle that's very hard for him to overcome. And then Phantom, the problem with Phantom is his PB is what high 26 or low 27 right now. PBing might not be good enough for him in this sort of situation. So obviously he's gonna have to put up like a potential multiple minute PB potentially to win this race. So I'm gonna go Laser Daime Phantom, which is probably the chalk pick here. But I'll ask you what you think about this one, and then what your order is after. Go ahead, go.
Yeah, so I'll just spoil it right now. I ended up picking the exact same order
Mm-hmm.
as you.
Yeah.
I think that I think Laser's pretty consistently had better times than the rest of these guys. And I know Phantom beat Laser earlier, but Laser didn't play as well that time, and Phantom played extra well that time around. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that was kind of like one of those unpredictable situations, kind of like how you were saying earlier, how if in the elims, if we have like two upsets to the higher seeds, like at the
Yeah.
seven and the six seeds. Like this was a situation where both of them kind of happened at the same time, where one of them played worse than he was
Yeah.
supposed to, and the other one played better than he was supposed to. So I feel like that was kind of unlikely situation. So I feel like if we just go with like what's more likely to happen, it's going to be Laser getting a really good time again. I don't think Daime will be able to break out of this cycle. I do think there's a really reasonable chance that Daime gets pod fraud, especially I'm sure he's practicing it a lot. I'm sure he's
Mm-hmm.
trying to calm the nerves a lot, but I don't think it'll be enough to pass Laser because Laser's going for God fraud as well. And
Yeah.
he runs the risk of losing time by not going for that, but then at worst he's barely losing any time to just not going for it at all unless he like starts going backwards somehow, which I admittedly don't know as much about God fraud
Mm-hmm.
as most people do. I never learned it, so I don't know the
Yeah.
intricacies of the skip. But what I've seen for the most
Mm-hmm.
part is if you miss it, you just kind of clip back in bounds and you just lose the few seconds you did by menuing.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, God fraud is one of those tricks where if you lose a ton of time, it's totally on you. Like you can always back out of the trick if you want to. There are some situations that are like really bad, but usually it's like you have to make multiple mistakes in a row, and it has to be some sort of tragedy to get into one of those situations. But yeah, God fraud is usually a trick you can kind of back out of if you don't get the height boost. Let's just say you can just back out of it, go back and bounce, which I did that once in one of these matches already. So like and Laser, who I think he knows in his head he doesn't need to hit Godfrog to win this match. He will still go for it, but like he can always just back out of the trick if it's happening. Like, oh crap, I didn't get the hype boost, or hey, I need to do something crazy to back this up. Like he can always back out and play it safe, and I think he'll feel pretty comfortable at still winning the match even with that. So I totally agree
Right.
with you on that. Yeah, and then I mean, I've I've been hoping for a vintage Daime performance this tournament. He had one decent race, which was the 26, which like 226 it barely held the wild card for like a little bit, but he hasn't put out anything close since. Obviously, I think a lot of people are rooting for Daime to turn this one around, but I just don't think it's going to be a big enough turnaround where he also beats Blazer or beats the
Yeah, I agree.
225-27. Yeah. So I guess we totally agree on that one with that one, which makes sense. And then we can move on to the Dragon Anorak T Fresh match, which I mean, I guess I have to label a match of the week every week. I'll put this one as the match of the week because I mean I think this is going to be a really cool race between Dragon and Anorak. I hate to hate to not include T Fresh in that, but I think the other two runners kind of outclass him in terms of PB and consistency. We had a big time from T Fresh last week, and he literally beat Anorak. So obviously I can't just go oh, I can't like discredit him at all. But Anorak, I think, is once again due for a much better run, and Dragon has consistently been putting up pretty good times all tournament. And I mean, he just got a 221.11, I think is now Dragon's
Yeah,
new
that was
PB.
crazy. That was insane. That was one of the craziest PBs I'd seen on there in a minute.
And I think it makes a huge influence on ladder league as well. Basically, kind of Dragon's putting his stamp like, hey man, I could really beat anyone out here because if he gets a 221 in a race, that could even beat Frost. Like, I mean, you never know. So, I would say definitely the favorite here is Dragon. I really want to pick Anorak as it's not even like that big of an upset if Anorak were to win because Anorak's been showing some really good signs in actual PB attempts, not quite in the ladder. But I think I'm gonna once again go safe and pick Chalk completely here and go Dragon Anorak T Fresh. I mean, it's the most likely outcome. I feel like it's one of those weeks where there's like good weeks where it's like you never know on like all three of the runners, and there's weeks where it's like two of the runners are kind of racing against each other and one of them's kind of an outsider. And I feel like that's one this week is kind of one of those weeks where it's like kind of a Dragon Anorak race, and then T Fresh is kind of just like the shoe in third place. So I'm gonna go Dragon Anorak T Fresh. Um, I guess it's just I just don't see Dragon faltering here, and Anorak should bounce back against T Fresh from the last week's loss. What do you think about
Yes,
this one?
I also kind of see this as a 2-1 situation, but not in the same order. I think that this is
Mhm.
going to be a Dragon blowout situation. I think Dragon's going to kind of take over the race, and
Okay.
kind of win by a lot. But I think it's going to be a close match for second between Anorak and T-Fresh because they've been having kind of similar times recently. The
Yeah.
thing is, though, that T-Fresh's times have had a lot bigger of a range since
Hmm.
then. Like I know T-Fresh had that 241, which to be fair, that had a lot of other things going on in it
Yeah.
too. But I know that T-Fresh's times have been kind of all over the place, and that you
Hmm.
can see that in his runs outside of this as well. He doesn't reset as often, which is good because he's better at handling mistakes and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But it's also bad because it's a lot more variable with how the ending goes. I think that it's going to be between those two, but I do think Anorak's going to pull out in the end. I'm also going to take the order of Dragon Anorak T
Hmm.
Fresh because I think Anorak's due for a better time because I don't think Anorak has been playing close to PB level while T Fresh has. So I think
Yeah.
I think it's time for him to have that good turn of luck that he's been waiting on.
Yeah, and I guess this is a huge race in terms of implications for the wild card because I guess just putting this top rung in perspective, first place gets the sixth seed, right? So they'll play Harazmi. But then second and third get the exact same thing. So as much as we want to like change the order, both second and third are gonna be in week six, match three, like no matter what. So it's like
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
glad you
I
reminded
mean,
me of
I
that.
honestly just remembered it as we're talking about it. So it's like kind of a not do or die, but like you might as well go all out in this sort of race. Like we know that Anorak's gonna go for Pod Fraud or God Fraud. T Fresh won't. But Dragon, I'm not sure because he hasn't been going for it, but I know he wanted to learn it, so he might try to make sure he learns it before this match. Which, by the way, is going to be on Thursday, so there's a few days to
I
work with
don't
for
think
Dragon.
he would use it this quickly in this
That is
match though, because
true.
that trick takes a while to learn. I don't think he would go for this. But also, Dragon is if there's one person that was able to pick up this game like instantly and just
Yeah,
become great, it was
exactly.
Dragon. So maybe he'd be the one to be able to pop off with it.
Yeah, and maybe Dragon's in the same mindset as I was saying lasers, and it's like maybe he thinks he can win this race without Godfraud. You know, he's done it before against Anorak this tournament, I believe. I might be wrong, but he's been able to at least beat Anorak's time without it. Anorak's times without Godfraud this tournament as well. So maybe he's in the mindset of I don't necessarily need this to win the race anyways, and I just want to play my game. You know, don't worry about what Anorak because Anorak has been the best at Godfraud this tournament. I think last race was the first time he didn't get the full Godfraud. He only got one of the two lap skips. So,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, yeah, I think we both agree on the order, just kind of how the race is going to be playing out. But it is
Yeah, I
basically,
don't think this week is too interesting with the predictions. I think this one's gonna be a pretty chalk prediction, like you said.
yeah. I guess we'll have like a second form come out after the Thursday match for the week six match three. Which, by the way, I guess we'll transition into that because let's take our predictions, which is the same predictions, and then kind of fill in this week six match three bracket. So Dragon would be the
Okay.
sixth seed. And then we would have Laser. We both had winning Laser Anorak T Fresh as that week six match three, which honestly is such an interesting match to me because this is kind of like, I mean, for Laser, these are the three people if are all closest on wild card time right now. So one of them is gonna get for sure, like one of them's gonna get knocked out for sure. One of them's gonna still qualify to wild card most likely, and then one of them is just gonna get the seven seed. And the thing is, if you look at the final bracket, the number one seed is Frost, who literally just got world record, and
Yeah.
he's been running phenomenally. I think if there's anyone you're like, I don't want to play that guy, it's Frost, and I think every single person's been saying that. So it's really important, like to these runners, I'm sure if they want to have a chance to make it far in the final bracket, that they win this week 6 match 3. And obviously they'll have wild cards to back up to play Frost, but you know, this will be if it's Laser, Anorak, T Fresh. I'm trying to think of what I would predict because that's such a good race. Um,
I
like,
think that I would probably go Anorak with this one. I think
mhm,
Anorak's gonna end up winning that race. Kind of what I was saying earlier with like how Laser's been kind of inconsistent with his running, but Anorak's kind of been a bit more consistent. It's like Laser has been like going high and low a lot, but his lows have been very low. Anorak has just been like
mhm.
slightly low, but not too
Yeah.
inconsistently low. He's been shooting around the same time every time. So I think that what Anorak needs to rely on is for Laser to have one of his bad days on that day. Because if Anorak could just be like have one of his like average performances that he's been having, I think he'll be able to pull through pretty well. Because Anorak had the wild card time for a bit,
Mhm.
so he's definitely shown that he can have those consistent times. And I think that he can also improve on that a lot. He's been practicing a lot with this, getting new PBs, so I think he can definitely pull through with this one. I think we're gonna see an Anorak upset and
That's
he'll pull through.
I almost like it's hard to even call that an upset because Anorak is playing so well outside of just ladder league. Yeah, I think, dude, I'm like trying to think. I've been like a flaming laser backer the entire turn. Like laser's gonna win, laser's gonna win, laser's gonna win, and he hasn't won a single time. He still doesn't have a ladder league win. I mean, in this scenario, he does finally have his first win. Oh, it's so tough. I think I'm gonna go back him one more time. I'm gonna say if he wins week 6, he'll have the confidence to go win week 7/week 6 part 2 or whatever you want to call it. I think he's gonna go back to back wins and then get the 7 seed. And then I think it's gonna be a race. I think it's gonna be like Laser gets like a really good time, and then Atarak and T Fresh are like right around that wild card time that they're both at, and it'll be a cool like second place doesn't matter, but Anorak needs to beat T Fresh's 2:25:27 to get the wild card time. Like T Fresh is also trying to beat it. And it'll be this like cool scenario where like any three outcomes could happen. Well, I guess like Laser with the 2:24:58 is pretty secured for top 8. It would be really surprising if like both Anorak and T Fresh beat that this week, or they both beat him across the 2 weeks. That would be kind of surprising because a 2:24:50 something is pretty solid, better than T Fresh's PB, and Anorak hasn't put up a time better than that in the entire tournament yet. So I'm gonna go Laser. I'm gonna go T Fresh second because I have roommate bias, but also I
Yeah.
think it'd be cool to see someone from the outside qualify for the top 8, and then Anorak gets third, and that'll be kind of the big headline going into the top 8 is Anorak didn't make it as someone who was already in the top 8. Sorry, Anorak, I know you're watching. No offense. I guess I initially had you as that pick, so I'm just kind of riding with that, and I have roommate bias, so it's tough to get past that. And then that would I guess let's switch over to the top 8 bracket here.
Right, yeah, let's
You're
do
gonna
it.
disappear for a second.
That's fine. I'm in the darkness now.
All right, so let's kind of fill in based on what we were saying, and then we can kind of do some theory brackets here. So it would be Harass Me Dragon, Jared Laser, and then Frostbite T Fresh. And then I guess we can also, if you wanna, throw out another scenario where like Anorak gets in at some point as well,
Okay.
or Daime or Phantom. You can throw that out too. Do you want to kind of make your bracket first, or do you want me to go ahead? Because we can
Yeah,
talk
I'll,
about the
I'll kick it off.
matchups. Okay, or yeah, I guess you can talk about the matchups as you're saying who you think's gonna win. So I guess start at the top, like Frostbite versus T Fresh. Like, I mean, I think I know your pick, but you can go ahead and make it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that Frost is
Yeah,
probably going to pull through on that
yeah,
one. As much as I want to support my Xbox brother in this one,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
Frostbite's going to pull through, especially with that new 217 that just dropped the other day.
Mhm.
As much as I want T Fresh to put up a fight, I don't think it's going to go too well in his
Yeah.
favor, and I think we're going to see a Frost victory there.
Okay, and then I guess to the next match, or I'll make it with you. I'll make it with you as you go, as we go, well, like
That
each
sounds
spot.
good. Let's do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna once I'm gonna agree with you. I have so much roommate bias, but I can't. It's not enough to beat Frost, who literally just got world record and played at what was almost 216 pace, which I mean that's just unfathomable to me. So I mean it's gonna be hard. It's Frost would have to make so many mistakes. It'd be like God Fraud miss wouldn't even be enough with the level restart to for him to you know lose to T Fresh. I feel so. I'm gonna go Frost as well. And then that moves us to, I mean, what is honestly a pretty iconic matchup at this point. Myself and Justin probably matching up for, I mean, I don't even know what number of time in the tournament we've matched up together, but it's kind of crazy to see us matching up in the quarterfinal top eight here. Who do you have in this match? And then I guess any reasoning.
Yeah,
And don't
so
feel like you need to pick me because I'm here.
no, yeah, I was gonna say like I wanted to clarify this is not because I'm doing this with you, but I actually was gonna pick you to win
Mhm,
this match, mostly because I feel like Justin's tournament performance has not been as up to par as his PB
mhm,
has. Um, it took him like I had him originally predicted as the 2 seed
mhm,
for my predictions, but he ended up qualing fifth, and I saw like several different mistakes that were going on in his runs that typically he doesn't do in his normal PB attempts, and it just kind of cost him a lot of races. And I don't know
mhm,
if it was like nerves or getting flustered, frustrated, one of those, but his tournament skills I don't think have been as good as his uh, normal run skills. But I think that you've been playing like a little more consistently in this tournament to your level, and
mhm,
since both of y'all, I know his PB is a little bit above yours, but it's not too much.
mhm.
So I think this will definitely be the match of the week when it comes to this one. But I do think we're going to see a Senor victory in the end.
Yeah, and I guess I can give you some insight because I'm literally running in this race. I can give you some insight on myself. I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing for me is going to be increasing God Fraud consistency this week because I feel like if with a hit God Fraud, like where I hit full God Fraud, I think at worst I can average like a time better than my PB because it's fun. I said this on stream a couple of times, but it's like my two PB since I've come back, I've hit full God Fraud like three times or four times. Sorry, four times now. First time, I realized some controller issues that I had with it that I didn't realize were side effects and lost like a minute and reset the run immediately, basically. The next time I PB'd by zero point 0.5 seconds and I was rusty. The next time I PB'd by 56 seconds and I still didn't feel like very good at the game. So it's like I'm PBing basically almost every time I can get out of a full God Fraud, and then the I actually did it twice more where I got it but didn't PB. Both of those runs were best episode 4 exits by me by like a long shot. Like I got a 107.01, which is like 30 seconds behind record, which I'm like really happy with that, but also showing like, okay, I can definitely, well, not only PB, but like if I hit full God Fraud in a race, I feel like it's very hard for me not to get worse than like a 221, which is something that
Yeah.
Justin has only beaten once this tournament. So like I feel like it's sort of the race is in my hands, which I feel like that's what I wanted it to be from the start. Obviously, Justin's a very, very good player, and I feel like it's going to take like a 221 or a 220 to have a chance to even beat him because he has a 229 PV and he's a very consistent runner. But yeah, I feel like the fact that I think I can get a 220 or 221 kind of means the race is in my hands, and I want to capitalize on it. So it's going to be biggest thing for me is God brought consistency throughout the week, and then obviously I think I'm going to try to PB as well, get like a 220 or sub 220 is kind of what I'm going for now, considering I got a 30 seconds off of world record exit out of four is kind of the goal. But yeah, that's just my insight on my own match. I can't for the actual pick. I can't not go against myself. I feel like it would be
You
wrong
need
if
that
I said
confidence, man.
yeah, it'd be wrong. I say this every week, but it would be wrong to go against myself, especially in like such a like you said, the match of the week, myself versus Wii Super. I think this is definitely like the headline matchup. The two biggest names that have been playing for a while. Yeah, geez, I'm like blazing myself right now. Done. But yeah, I think it'll be the headline matchup, and I'm gonna take myself for confidence reasons as well. But I think it'll be a really good match, and I feel a lot more confident going into this one than I did the week 4 match because I definitely got outplayed in that match. It was just Justin had the God Fraud issue. Uh, and yeah, that's I guess that's my analysis in there. We'll move on since we talked about that one for a minute. To the
Okay.
Harass Me versus would be a Dragon
Dragon, yeah.
matchup. What do you think for this one? Because I think this is a very unique matchup.
Yeah, so we got the Finland matchup right here. I think that Dragon's actually going to pull through in this one. I think since the start of the leagues, Dragon has shown drastic improvement over the course of the past couple of months. His PB's gone down a ton. And like you said, so I didn't know until a few minutes ago when you mentioned that he was learning God Fraud. I don't think he'd be doing it this week or the next week if he happened to lose. But I think by the time this comes around, he would definitely be doing
Mm-hmm.
this because this is in what, 2 or 3 weeks from now.
This
That gives
would
him plenty of time to
it
learn God
could be
Fraud.
as soon as next week. Well, it's say like me and Justin are facing off on the 30th, which is in 7 days from now. But that's the earliest possible match that could happen, and
Okay.
so it could be like the next 7 days after that potentially.
Okay. Well, I think he could definitely still
Yeah.
learn God Fraud in that time before then and do it consistent enough where he could do it in the race. And I think that gives him the edge he needs to be able to pull through. So I think this might be the bracket upset of the round. I think that Dragon might pull through in this one. What are your thoughts on it?
I actually am gonna go the same way as you. Harasmi has been super impressive this tournament. The thing is, we haven't seen much of Harasmi since then, and I think we kind of saw last year what happens to some people who don't play. I mean, this has happened to me too. Who don't play after qualifying like relatively early, is they struggle in the top eight. Like the only one who didn't was Zach, who like is kind of just the best runner of all time in
Yeah,
this
he's
game.
Zach.
Yeah, I there's there's a reason why he can do that, but like Harasmi hasn't, from what I've seen, maybe he hasn't played in a while, and I feel like Dragon has been consistently playing and is gonna maybe have some momentum going into top eight. I feel like he's gonna have the edge over Harasmi here, even though Harasmi has done significantly better in the actual ladder. So I'm gonna take Dragon as well, in a kind of a surprise win. I don't think Harasmi was also doing God Fraud at the moment, so we might see both of them not go for God Fraud. Maybe we'll see both of them go for it. I have no idea. That's going to be such a unique match. But I'm going to err with you there and say Dragon takes the upset. And then I guess that's moving on to what would be Jared versus Laser. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think Jared pulls through on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think no matter who Jared goes up against in this run, he wins. Which I say that like knowing that Jared historically, I'm thinking ladder league last year too. He's sometimes a disaster when it comes to races. Because
I mean,
Jared
he
is
did
the
make the
one that
finals though. He did make the finals last year.
he made the finals, but he got like what, seventh seed last year when
Yeah.
he probably should have gotten second or third. And I just remember like because Jared resets the most out of everyone in the entire community, I
Mm-hmm.
think. So that's the problem he runs into, but he's been resetting less, I guess, recently. But I still think Jared pulls through with a win in this one, just because I think his skill is a bit too high compared to
Yeah.
Laser, Anorak, T-Fresh, whoever he goes up against in this
Yeah,
race.
I completely agree. I also like, maybe I'll ask you this as well if this is a big factor. But Jared is the only one on the bottom half of the bracket in our theory bottom half of the bracket that has had tournament like final bracket experience in TCS tournaments before. Jared's the only one. So
Hmm.
I feel like for me that kind of like helps make the decision like easier for me. Even though Jared's a very volatile racer, like he could put up a really good time or a really bad time. I feel like the experience might help him a bit because there might be some nerves for example, like a laser, an anorak, or a T Fresh. I guess technically T Fresh has been in, but we're saying T Fresh is the 8 seed, I guess, in this scenario. But like there might be some extra nerves because this is a head to head versus the 3-way race, and it's you win or go home sort of idea. So I think I'm gonna err on the side of experience and just the higher upside of Jared as well. As much as I love to
Yeah, you're
back
right. I actually
laser,
didn't think about that, that he has experience in tournaments before
yeah.
going into the end stages. I didn't think about that. You're absolutely right.
And I guess we'll move on to the semifinals now. So I guess we both have that same semifinal of Frost versus myself. Um, this
Yeah,
is
I'm sorry,
yeah,
man. I
yeah.
think Frost pulls through in
I
this
think
one.
yeah, I can agree. It's very hard to pick me in this matchup. Um, I, I I'll let you explain. I mean, I don't know if you have much to say on it because we have like just kind of talked about how good Frost is, and there's really not much more to say about it.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of like the stuff I was saying about the quarterfinals race. I just think Frost's skill level is just surpassing everybody else's
Yeah.
right now. I know that he only recently got world record for the first time, but he definitely been in competition for world record for a very long time, like even since like last summer. And
Mhm.
I think it's just like now it's finally come around, but I think he definitely has put up that skill level for a while, and I think he might just pull through this
Yeah.
time around. I think it'll be a pretty clean Frost sweep.
I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna set aside my own, confidence boosts and whatnot right now, and I'm gonna like think logically because at this point of the tournament, right, I'm still in that range of like, I think I could put up 220 or 221 with the full God Rod, pretty consistently. But the problem is Frost can definitely just do that and better consistently. Like you can probably put up a 219, pretty consistently. So even if I do like a really good performance to get a 220, it might not be good enough. Like I feel like there's a good chance it might not be good enough. So I would have to pull out something crazy out of the bag, or Frost would have to have some sort of disastrous race. I think for me to pull this upset off. So yeah, I'm gonna
Right.
go with Frost here. Um, yeah, I'm just gonna agree with you there, and I guess we can talk about the bottom, which would be in our case. I guess we both have Dragon against Jared, which is a very interesting matchup. What are your thoughts on Dragon versus Jared in the semifinals?
Yeah, this is one that I was thinking about actually. I I think it would be really cool if Dragon pulled through with this one. I think that would be like a really cool thing, like a new runner taking over the competition.
Hmm.
But I do think Jared is gonna pull through on this one as well. I think Jared's gonna end up winning this race. I don't think it'll be like as much of a blowout as some of these Frost races has been, but I think that Jared will still win. It'll
Hmm.
probably be like within a minute maybe of each other, but I think
Yeah.
I think Jared will still pull through in the end.
Also, I guess something to point out. I know we haven't talked about because Jared and Frost in each other bracket, but I was thinking about like who can beat Frost, and honestly, I think it's really only Jared, and that's because he has the upside to beat him. Definitely doesn't have the better consistency, but Jared I think has the upside. Actually, if we'll talk about we'll talk about Jared and Frost in a second. I guess I need to talk about Jared and Dragon. I think this will be like I think this will be like match of the tournament sort of vibes, where both these guys are gonna have phenomenal runs, and it'll come down to the very end. I feel like this wild prediction, but match of the tournament sort of vibes. I think I'm gonna give the edge to Jared here because I mean Dragon has expressed already in his first couple of laddering matches the nerves he's had during the match, and I think in this sort of scenario where it's literally against Jared, who's second place on the leaderboard, second place in the tournament in a semifinal match, it might be a little bit too much, and I think there might be some mistakes made due to those nerves. And obviously, every little mistake is going to count in such a big match against two guys who are running at such a high level. So I'm going to give Jared the edge here. And obviously, like the experience we were talking about as well. So that would set up, I guess, for both of us, this Frostbite versus Jared final, which I guess I'll go to you first. What do you think about that final, and who is your ultimate pick?
I
It's tough.
It's a
It's
tough
tough.
one.
Yeah.
I think this one could really just come down to a coin toss. I think I'm gonna go with Jared though in these
Mhm.
finals, mostly because I don't want to just have a clean bracket where it's just better
Yeah.
seed wins, better seed
I
wins,
mean,
and
we
I
do
need
have
an upset
Dragon,
somewhere.
so yeah.
Oh, that's true. I did have
Yeah.
Dragon winning the first round, but I do think Jared will pull through with this one. I'm not sure why, honestly, because these are both
Mhm.
just really great runners. They have pretty similar times, both been world record holders quite recently. But I have this gut feeling that Jared's gonna pull through
I,
that day.
So like I agree because I was just I don't I think I'm gonna go with Frost here as my pick, but I agree that like Jared, if anyone's gonna beat Frost, it's Jared because I think of anyone here in the final bracket, Jared's the one with the upside to actually like if Frost is a good run to actually just beat that run. Like of course Jared could put up like a 224 and everyone's like what the heck, but Jared could also put up like a 219 and that's gonna potentially beat Frost. So like I totally understand the Jared pick. I'm gonna go with Frost. I think it's just gonna be a it just consistency is king, and Frost has been the most consistent runner at a top level. And I'm gonna go with the consistency to win the tournament here. And I also think this is just my prediction. We're gonna kind of move to the Frost era of domination, where he doesn't seem like he has any intention of slowing down in terms of record right now. Like I know after if you got the first 217, he goes, "How about 216, guys?" Like he's gonna start going for that.
Oh, really?
I don't see Frost slowing down anytime soon. And I feel like this is kind of like him getting his first record, and then also him winning the tournament is kind of that transition to him being the dominant force right now. And obviously, like Jared's gonna still be up there, Justin's still gonna be up there, whoever else is gonna come compete, myself, Dragon. Zach's been dabbling some runs, I don't really know, but I feel like this is kind of gonna be like the start to the Frost, like being the dominant force era. And this is going to be, a staple world record and a tournament win back to back for him. And that's where I'm going to go. Yeah, but I think
I
we
can
have
definitely
some.
see that happening. I think I thought it could come down to a coin toss, but I can definitely see your vision happening as well. That's something I can 100% see happening.
I too kind of have to wrap it up here. I wanted to go through our top eight predictions, but honestly, ours both sucks. So that's really the only analysis we have for that is we only have one correct or two total correct between the two of us combined.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think both of us are kind of cooked in the prediction sphere. Um,
Yeah, not much we can do there
yeah.
on our end.
I'll do I guess since next week is the official like final bracket starting week, I'll do a deeper dive into predictions, and there'll only be three matches to recap, and the predictions will just be this bracket. So yeah, I guess for people next week, I will do a deeper dive into total prediction standings and actually look at who's doing what. But yeah, for now, thank you so much, Garrison, for coming on. This was another awesome week.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks for having me on here. I'm really glad I got to do this.
And yeah, I guess there's a match happening as we speak. I haven't looked at it. I think they're still in like episode 2 or 4. So uh, who knows how that's gonna go? I think it's that laser match. go
I
laser
hope we
beam
didn't
everything
curse
today.
anything with it when we were saying
Yeah,
stuff,
they
but
were saying
yeah,
that like how good of a runner is, and he's just like lasers lifts down by 3 minutes. Like,
yeah,
missed.
probably.
All right, but yeah, we'll go check in on that match. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week for the top 8 predictions.